Nigerians are continuing to mourn the death of the 26-year-old job seeker Iniubong Umoren, who was murdered after being lured to a fake interview. Arise correspondent Amaka Okoye has taken her investigation to the scene of the crime, and she sent in this report.
It took Iniubong Umoren about 45 minutes to make the journey here. She took a bike to Iniobong, where she thought she would be attending a job interview. Instead, she was murdered. The site has now been cordoned off. We were not allowed in. Onlookers stood around in complete shock. Most of them are reluctant to speak about the case that has rocked the nation.
We didn't even see the person, like the man, Frank Akpan, as a dangerous person, because the man is very calm, gentle on the streets, playing with children, making some fun like that, just interact with people. The only thing is that the man doesn't allow anybody to go in there except people that want to go and fetch water. He doesn't like somebody leaving the street to go other street to go and fetch water. The only people that he allows are those that want to go and fetch water, and they just go in and go out. That's all.
The fact that a young girl can actually come in search of a job, and she came all the way through the town into the villages, different villages, through the different untarred roads, to this Iniobong and to this building. And the fact that she is so driven, not just to do very well, perform very well in school, but actually to get a job and sustain herself. And she then decided to go beyond this point into this building. A person that was an orphan at the age of 2 to earn a living because she had actually sent and paid her way through high school, secondary school, and the university, and was now awaiting to go for her youth service, a thing of pride, now had to find her way all the way through this village to this building and to meet someone that actually ended her life and then buried her in a shallow grave in these premises.
It was on a Thursday like this, exactly 2 weeks ago, on the 29th of April, when Iniubong Umoren walked into this building alive for a supposed job interview, but never made it out alive. This is Iniobong village, exactly where Iniubong Umoren was killed, in that building. Iniobong is the best graduating student from her department, the Department of Philosophy in the University of Uyo, where she graduated from. Tomorrow, she will be laid to rest. But the question is, will Iniobong ever get justice? Amaka Okoye, Arise News.
And for an update on this sad story, we are now being joined from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State by Arise special correspondent Amaka Okoye. Amaka Okoye, good morning, and thank you for the great work you are doing. Yeah, very quickly, you said that the people within the vicinity were reluctant to speak. But did you get an opportunity to also speak with the Commissioner of Police of Akwa Ibom State, who has been, at the center of this controversy, because he was specifically fingered by David Nwenyi, the investigative journalist? That's one. And two, what is the truth about the status of Frank Akpan, the man who is again at the center of the storm? Is it true that he has committed suicide? What exactly have you been told by the police, in whose custody we were told a few days ago he had been?
Right, Dr. Abati, let me begin with your first question. We've not been able to get through yet to the Commissioner of Police. Most definitely we will do that. As you do know, we are heading out to the funeral of Iniubong. In the report, that report was done yesterday, we mentioned that she'll be buried today. To your second question, yes, at some point yesterday morning, there was a lot of what we'll call fake news now, saying that Akpan has committed suicide in custody, you know, that he hung himself with his trouser. Now, if you put that together first, even common sense, you do know that in the Nigerian prison, nobody wears trousers. Usually they will put on shorts. Having gone in, you know, there, if you've seen those who are in prison, you would know. So indeed, that was fake news. It's not true. He is still in custody, because when that happened, we're already on ground and we're setting out, you know, to the police station to go find out for ourselves if truly, because if that happened, of course, you get feelers and all of that. But no, Dr. Abati, he's still alive. He's still in custody. He didn't commit suicide, as far as we do know. We can say that, no, that was just fake news. Somebody put that online, and as you would expect, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of people jumped into it, because, you know, this story is very sensitive at different levels. But just to say that, no, he's still in custody, Dr. Abati.
Well, thank you for dispelling that. Is there any update on the allegations that the primary suspect in custody now was acting in concert with like a sinister network of ritual killers or illegal organ harvesters?
So that's a very important question that you've asked. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians will be, you know, waiting for that question and thinking through that line. I must say that we are getting feelers suggesting that, you know, this story of Iniubong's death it's not just one case. It seems to be a bigger story, and there are bigger issues. We've been speaking with people, like we said in that report. A lot of people are not agreeing, you know, to come speak in camera, but there are suggestions that there could be a bigger story behind the killing and the death of Iniobong, which of course you do know that we are following up and listening in, putting down our ears and following up. There are different stories, there are different controversies as well, there are different names, you know, that have been pointed. But when we were on ground yesterday, I must say that when we were on ground yesterday, those that spoke to us kind of echoed again, you know, what that investigative piece from Newswire said. So there are indications, but we don't have all the facts and details yet. We are following up in the coming days. This story is, what I must say is that this story is bigger than we thought, really. It may just have been Iniubong Umoren that was killed, that came to limelight. There seemed to be more, you know, to this death, Tundu.
Okay, thank you so much. Amaka, great work as always. Two things I'd like to say. I'd like to ask. Number one will be, from the place you saw, were there any suggestion? The people around, did they talk about possibility of the fact that they saw bones? Because that was taken from the Newswire story, and David Ohundeyi did defend that again. Was there any suggestion of that? And you said the place had been cordoned off. What I saw there was sort of like attack. It wasn't a proper cordon. Can you confirm to me that people have not still gone in there to tamper with very, very valuable evidence? And SP Ezugo, any word on him?
Right. So let me start from your last question. Ezugo, not yet. No word from him. We do know that CSA granted some interviews from some media house, I believe, but we've not been able to establish contact with him. We're following up on that. Cordoning off the place, yes. It may not be maybe the police officers cordoning it off. What we saw is what is, according to the people, of course, a traditional omen, a sign to say this place you cannot go in. While we were there were people who attempted, you know, trying to go in, and, you know, the villagers say you can't go in there. That red thing you saw, it was in one of the rooms. If you looked into the picture clearly, it was also at the front of the building. That building used to have a gate, two gates actually, the small one and the bigger one, black gates. Destroyed. Talking about tampering with evidence, I'm sorry to say, but I mean, as far as if you go in there, evidence, you know, has been already tampered with in a very, very huge way. People had gone in there up until on Wednesday morning. That's when actually what you saw was put. So yes, indeed, people have been going on in a place that is supposed to be a really huge crime scene that we would have expected to be cordoned off immediately by officers. But of course, that did not happen. So this was done by the people, you know, the villagers. And that suggests a very strong message to everyone who is a member of that community. And if you're a stranger, they'll tell you, no, you can't go in. Ourselves, we couldn't go in as well. You saw from the report that we just had, you know, where we had to stand. We couldn't proceed. We would have loved to, but we couldn't proceed. Now, to the bones question. Those who spoke to us said, first of all, that place looks very, very unsuspicious. You couldn't suspect that anything was going on in there. Again, the man does not allow people to go in there. He only allows people to come fetch water and go. So you come in through the small gate and then you exit. However, we did not, I must say, we did not see any bones because we didn't go in there. We saw shoes, we saw litters of books with different names. We saw something that looks like a curtain, a bit stained, pictures of those. But we did not see anything like bones because we did not go in. However, the people also said, you know, that they can't confirm what has been going on. Some of them are truly, truly shocked because they are under the impression that that place is like a farm. You know, there seems to be a farming activity. And this young man, who they also mentioned, is a very friendly person who talks with people, and nobody suspected anything. So unfortunately, we didn't go in there. We cannot say that we saw any such thing. Shoes, of course, we did see. We saw books with different names and other, you know, things, but certainly not bones because we couldn't go in there and the people would not confirm. In fact, some of them said they are shocked. They heard it on the news. You know, they know this young man, but they never suspected anything. He's always in the community with them, but they never knew that this is the kind of crime. Even the bike men that brought us, we bring people into this community. Nobody has ever suspected that such, you know, crime, heinous crime was going on there. Just one. I mean, so many people have been lured into that place by this same suspect, and most of them have been physically, sexually, you know, assaulted right in there. But unfortunately, Ini paid the ultimate price in a very, very gruesome manner. Oseni.
Well, Amaka Okoye, there's something I'll need you to help us clarify. You said earlier on that the place had been cordoned off, but then you said you noticed something like a traditional symbol, the barren people. So who has cordoned off the place? Is it the witches and wizards and the herbalists of the community, the traditional institution, or the security agencies of Nigeria? Did you notice any presence, any form of presence by the security agencies, the police particularly, at that location? Because what was said by the Commissioner of Police of Akwa Ibom State in an interview he had on this station, on Arise News Night, was that they were continuing with investigations. So who is keeping watch over that crime scene? You know, traditionalist or the Nigerian state? And the second question has to do with the report, the latest report that the Akpabios, who were specifically mentioned in the Untitled Investigative report, they decided to go to court. And this morning, the journalist, David Undenyi, has said, well, they can go to court, whatever, you know, whatever, he doesn't care, and that he stands more or less by his story. What do you think we should be looking forward to? A big case in court over defamation, or what? How do you think this will play out?
Right, Dr. Abati, I'm sorry I lost part of your questions, you know, because of the noise. However, I know you mentioned, you know, the Akpabios and the case. First things first, as soon as we got in town, we were around that, you know, the place, the building in question. However, you do know also that the Akpabios have said, look, they distance themselves from this building. This structure is not theirs. Yes, they said they are going in court, and yes, David is also said, the journalist also has said, you can go to court. In fact, he said, instead of, you know, all of this calling him out or threats and all of that, maybe they should ask, you know, the communications, the communications, Airtel and MTN precisely, to release the recordings, the conversation. Maybe that would give clearer evidence. As we do know, yes, seemingly they are going to court. That's what we do know, Dr. Abati, about that one. Most definitely, we're still following up because, like I said, this is a bigger story, actually, and there are feelers here and there suggesting that it's way bigger than just, you know, Ini's death. We're not dismissing Ini's death, of course, as just, but it's just pointing, it has now pointed a light to maybe bigger stories that has never come into the limelight. That's on the one part. And your second question is about who cordoned off the place, the Nigerian state. Did we see security presence? Of course not. One of the reasons why we were hell-bent on going to that place is to see for ourselves who is watching over this crime scene that is supposedly cordoned off. I would have expected my imagination, because when we're having a conversation, we're like, we probably will not be able to get in there. We may not be able to go as far. You know, if it's a crime scene cordoned off by authorities, of course, you know that you can't go as far. But You know, from the way from where we are to going into that place, there was no security presence. There is no police anywhere. Even when we came into the place, I mean, we were just let into the place. There were others who were coming, you know, passing, but again, they couldn't move in. Now, Dr. Abati, that speaks to culture and tradition and the value system of a society and some of the things that people believe in. I mean, you can just say it's just a piece of red clothing, but for them it's very powerful and it suggests something very strong, such that once you see it, you know that this is a no-go area. If the Nigerian state have not been able, I mean, the police have not been able to put security men there, police officers, to say, look, this place is cordoned up, as we would have known. The people have done that for themselves, and the people understand the language, understand the symbol. Again, it's symbolism here, and culture and belief system. So that was done by the people and not by the Nigerian state. And yes, unfortunately, we did not see any police. We were there for some good time, really, you know, to be able to film and to speak to those who agreed to speak to us. We were there up until we left. In fact, moving from there, remember there was a bus stop where she picked up the bike. Even from that spot into going into the road, the inroads, and into the village, there was no police, there was no security presence, which was the first question we also asked. Because as a journalist, I was wondering that most definitely we can't just go in there. But even as we speak, unless if overnight they did that, but as at yesterday when we were leaving that place, there was no security presence that they had been. What we do know is that, of course, the police came in, exhumed the body at night, and that's it. We've not, you know, there are no more police. There's no police station there. There is no sort of anybody really watching over this crime scene, and that's why, as you know, that's tampering with huge evidence for a crime scene, Dr. Abati.
So many failings here. I don't even know where to start. But what you said about the people in the neighborhood that didn't realize that they were dealing with a serial killer reminded me of John Wayne Gacy, the American serial killer who murdered 33 young men, lying, luring them to his house, saying that he had work for them. Those boys also went for work and they were raped and murdered by somebody who used to perform as a clown in children's hospitals. So it's not to do with the neighbors. It's not their fault that they could not spot a psychopath in their midst. But I do blame the Nigerian government for the lapses that you have pointed out. And also that since this tragedy has happened, and there have been others, we haven't heard anything about how we're going to now streamline and tighten the processes whereby desperate Nigerian young men and women are looking for work. They are still prey. Today, somebody might be going to meet their deaths, God forbid, but it's entirely possible. What should be done at this point to make sure that such a thing does not happen again? And that if there's an advert for jobs, the person can actually be trusted, not that they've been lured to their death.
I mean, Tundu, ideally, there should be agencies that check this sort of adverts. That's the first big, huge, massive failure. If we had agencies and people know, you know, that, look, you can really check up this, maybe that would not have happened. That's one. Iniubong's death, I mean, it's painful at different levels. This is an orphan. This is a girl who's put herself through education, believing that education will be the best way for her to, you know, be successful in life, right? This is the best graduating student from her department, right? This is a girl who would have loved to go for NYC. She didn't make it. This is a girl who made a public outcry on social media. In her words, Tundu, she said she needs a job to keep body and soul together. Everybody who we've spoken to who knows Iniubong says she's a very hard-working person, right? But she ended up dying in this most gruesome manner. She was raped. She must have been physically assaulted before he killed her. So what this speaks to is the failure of government at different levels. I mean, it is the institutional failure. What are we doing with our youths? INIOBONG finished studying. She's still in hostel, by the way. She's not left hostel because, I mean, that's the best place she can be. And she left the hostel and then ended. That's how she died. So what we should do as a nation is to put policies in place, give job, provide job opportunity. You can't study and then be desperately in need of a job. She would have loved to be in NYC. She would have loved to serve. She would have loved to practice. Best graduating student. That's not easy to get anywhere, even in Nigerian universities. So, I mean, this speaks a lot, and I hope that this is going to be a wake-up call for everyone, for authorities, to move beyond the rhetorics and show true leadership that can be concretized.
I mean, Amaka, the fact that you just repeat best graduate students just rips through my heart like a dagger, I should say, and it's a sad loss for our country. Amaka, any updates on the senior forestry officer in all of this case that was revealed in the investigative work, journalism work? Any update on that senior forestry officer that I said Frank was talking to?
Oseni, you may have to repeat your question.
I said, any update on the senior forestry officer that was mentioned in the NDDC that they said Frank was talking to? I think that was Kufre or something.
Kufre Effiong.
Kufre Effiong. Any update on Kufre Effiong?
Again, like I said, if you're in this town, there is a lot of information here and there. But what that is speaking to is the fact that some of the details mentioned by Newswire, they seem to be corroborating it. He has not come out to speak to us. We've not been able to get through to him as well. However, there seems to be some conversation he's having. I do believe that you saw the interview where he mentioned that, he's somewhat related to this guy, but he is not aware of anything that he's doing. He doesn't know what he does, but he is somewhat related to him, that he facilitated his arrest. It will be very, very crucial to have his own, come out to say what he knows, what role, who is he truly. But we've not been able to get that. These are the things that we're piecing together, and these are the things that makes the story even bigger than just, the death of Iniubong. It is hard to say, but unfortunately, someone had to die for all of this to be made, to be known. And there are so much more, Oseni, that this death is revealing, so much more that in the coming days, hopefully, this is developing, we'll be able to piece bits and pieces together, but it's all a lot. No word yet from him. Hopefully, we will be able to get through to that as well.
Well, Amaka Okoye, thank you very much. We're told that, we've run out of time. I would have like to ask you whether there has been an autopsy and whether there is any organ missing, because David Undeyin was reporting also about organ trafficking and how that is a big problem, in that axis of Nigeria. But thank you very much for the great work you are doing. Thank you.